The air was thick with the scent of crushed marigolds and the sting of betrayal. Karen, in her pristine white blazer and stilettos that screamed money, stood in the middle of our community garden, her manicured nails clutching a phone as she barked into it. "Yes, officer, he's trespassing. He's destroying property. I saw him with my own eyes." Her voice was sharp, a blade slicing through the quiet evening. My cousin Jamal, barely 20, stood frozen near the garden's edge, his hands stuffed in his hoodie, eyes wide with disbelief. He hadn't touched a single plant. The real vandal was Karen, and she was framing him. This wasn't just any garden. It was our neighborhood's pride, a patchwork of vegetables and flowers tended by kids, retirees, and families like mine. Jamal had spent months nurturing the tomatoes, his calloused hands proof of his care. Karen, who'd moved into the upscale condo across the street, had been eyeing the garden with disdain for weeks. An eyesore, she called it at the last community meeting, her lips curling as if the dirt itself offended her. Now, she'd taken matters into her own hands, and Jamal was her scapegoat. The truth unraveled faster than Karen expected. She'd been seen earlier that day, slipping into the garden with a pair of shears, snipping at the roses and trampling the lettuce. Old Mrs. Carter, who lived next door and never missed a thing, had watched from her porch. That woman was tearing up the place like it owed her money, Mrs. Carter later told me, her voice trembling with anger. She tried to confront Karen, but Karen had waved her off, claiming she was cleaning up for the neighborhood's sake. Then, when Jamal showed up to water the plants, Karen saw her chance. She called the cops, spinning a tale of vandalism and pointing the finger at him. What Karen didn't know was that Jamal wasn't just a kid with a green thumb. He'd been working part-time as an intern at the local FBI field office, a gig he'd earned through sheer grit. His ID, tucked in his wallet, was no ordinary badge. It was federal, and it carried weight. But Jamal didn't flaunt it. He was too humble, too focused on keeping the garden alive to care about clout. Karen, though, had no idea who she was messing with. The police arrived, sirens cutting through the dusk. 2 officers stepped out, their faces stern as they approached the garden. Karen, all confidence, strode toward them, her heels clicking on the pavement. "That's him," she pointed at Jamal, her voice dripping with accusation. "He's been tearing up this garden for weeks. I'm just a concerned citizen trying to protect our community." The crowd that had gathered, neighbors, kids, even a few dogs, murmured in protest. They knew Jamal. They knew Karen's lie. The officers turned to Jamal, who stood calm, his hands now out of his pockets. "Sir, can you explain what's going on?" one asked, his tone neutral but firm. Jamal nodded, reaching for his wallet. Karen smirked, crossing her arms, clearly expecting a quick arrest. Then Jamal pulled out his ID. The officer's eyes widened as he read it. Then he handed it to his partner. A moment later, both officers straightened, and one gave Jamal a crisp salute. The crowd gasped. Karen's smirk vanished, her face paling as if she'd been slapped. "Ma'am," the lead officer said, turning to Karen, "this young man is a federal employee. Care to explain why you're accusing him of vandalism?" Karen stammered, her confidence crumbling. "Two saw him. He was destroying the plants." But the cracks in her story were already showing. Mrs. Carter stepped forward, her cane tapping the ground. "She's lying," she said, her voice cutting through the tension. "I saw her in the garden this morning, ripping up flowers and tossing them in the dirt. She's the one who's been vandalizing it." The twist came from an unexpected source. Karen's own assistant, a nervous young woman named Lily who'd been trailing her all day. Lily, who'd been silent until now, stepped out from behind Karen, her hands trembling. "It's true," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "She told me to keep quiet, but I can't. She's been planning this for days. She wanted the garden gone so the condo board could sell the land." The crowd erupted in boos, and Karen's face twisted in fury. "You little traitor," she snapped, but Lily held her ground, tears in her eyes. "I'm tired of lying for you," she said. The confrontation escalated as the officers turned their attention to Karen. They walked through the garden, noting the fresh, damage-uprooted plants, broken stems, and Karen's own designer scarf caught on a thorn. "This doesn't look like the work of someone who's been framed," one officer said, holding up the scarf. Karen's excuses faltered. I was just inspecting the damage," she insisted, but her voice cracked. The officers weren't buying it. They asked Jamal to recount his side, and he did, calmly laying out his routine of tending the garden. Mrs. Carter and other neighbors backed him up, their voices a chorus of truth. Karen's downfall was swift and brutal. The officers didn't arrest her on the spot, but they took her statement and her name for a formal report. The community board, already fed up with her complaints, banned her from future meetings. Lily, emboldened by her stand, quit on the spot, leaving Karen alone in the garden she'd tried to destroy. The neighbors rallied around Jamal, promising to replant every ruined flower. Karen, humiliated, fled to her condo, her stilettos clicking a retreat. But the real sting came later. Word spread, and the local news picked up the story. Entitled Condo Owner Frames Federal Intern Over Community Garden, the headline read. Karen's face was plastered across social media, her lies exposed for all to see. The garden, meanwhile, flourished. Jamal led the replanting effort, and the community came together stronger than ever, their bond forged in the face of Karen's deception. In the end, this wasn't just about a garden. It was about truth, community, and the courage to stand up to lies. Jamal's quiet strength and Lily's unexpected bravery showed that even the smallest voices can topple a bully. Karen's downfall was a reminder. Entitlement can't outrun accountability. What do you think? Where do you draw the line between standing up for what's right and letting lies slide? Share your thoughts.